Allstate, who is the sponsor of the Sugar Bowl, and God knows every one of these bowl games has a sponsor. We've talked about Pop-Tarts on this program. Snoop Dogg is sponsoring a bowl game on down the line. Allstate happens to be the company who is advertising on the back of the Sugar Bowl. And at the start of the broadcast, a lot of people are pissed off today, including myself, at comments made by the CEO of Allstate, a guy named Tom Wilson, at the top of the broadcast. Let's go now to what he had to say before the Sugar Bowl was played and break down the idiocy of what this man did on national television.
Welcome to the Allstate Sugar Bowl. Wednesday, tragedy struck the New Orleans community. Our prayers are with the victims and their families. We also need to be stronger together by overcoming an addiction to divisiveness and negativity. Join Allstate working in local communities all across America to amplify the positive, increase trust, and accept people's imperfections and differences. Together, we win.
Well, you know, the first what, 5 or 10 seconds went pretty well. Look, I honestly don't even know where to begin with this. This is obviously a company that has been held hostage by the woke DEI mentality. And you have this guy here. You basically, look, we're playing a football game. You're promoting your fucking insurance. If you want to make a comment at the beginning of the broadcast about the tragedy that occurred, I think that's absolutely appropriate. In fact, it's the right decision. So kudos for your first 10 seconds there, Tom. And then after that, you lost the entire fucking country. To tell us about an addiction to divisiveness and preach your inclusiveness. And it sounded like we were all being held hostage in some corporate DEI workshop hell is what it sounded like. And we had the DEI guy at my old college too when I was a professor. And he came in one day and we had to sit and listen to him talk DEI bullshit for about an hour. Look, I want to break this down. Look, first of all, people are criticizing this guy saying that he was showing sympathy to the terrorist. I'm going to give him enough credit to believe that that is not his intention. This was not written by him. Okay. Very likely he's just the empty suit wimp who's going to stand on television, the CEO of Allstate, and he's going to read what somebody else has written for him that I'm sure that they've workshopped out and they believe is going to strike the right notes. All right. And it hit every sour note. And he's got to own it because he was the one who was dumb enough to go on television and say those words. So they belong to you now, Tom Wilson. And you're going to sit here and you're going to talk about how we need to come together and we need to get over our divisiveness, our addiction to divisiveness, and preach your religion of inclusivity and all of this right on the heels of a terror attack that claimed the lives of 15 Americans. And while I don't believe that he's saying that we need to preach tolerance of ISIS, it is the DEI woke, everybody's okay, everything's just different, but everything is also at the same time equally okay, and we have to respect all groups, and we have to respect all viewpoints, and all of this touchy-feely, modern woke bullshit. Okay, it doesn't play very well after somebody drove a truck down Bourbon Street and maimed 15 people and injured at least twice that many more. Because it's that kind of everything's okay. We can't see the difference between right and wrong anymore. Let's all come together, celebrate our differences, like these fucking coexist bumper stickers that you see, where people have 35 different symbols on there, probably 29 of which they don't even remotely fucking understand. But it's a great bumper sticker thought to say, why can't we all get along? Well, maybe the reason that we all can't get along, Tom Wilson, maybe the reason that there's divisiveness in this country, maybe the reason that we don't need to have 100% unfettered inclusivity is some people are terrorists who are intent to kill people and undermine every American value. And so I do think that the second half of what he said, the second 2/3 of what he said, I think that was already written. I think it was already written. I don't think that was his commentary on the Bourbon Street terror attack. But I think that it's incredibly tone deaf that you can be, at least hypothetically, intelligent enough to be the CEO of a major American insurance provider and then not have the common sense or the decency or the ability to read the room, that you go on television and you talk about, oh, well, we're real sorry. We're going to dedicate like 6 seconds to the people who lost their lives, and then I'm going to preach to you for about 2 or 3 times that long on why we should all get along and get past having differences with each other. Well, hey, listen, the person that needs to hear that message, Tom Wilson, isn't the guy who's holding a beer, getting ready to knock a couple back and watch Notre Dame play Georgia. It's the people that are out there harboring hatred who want to go and kill. And they want to destroy America. So, hey, listen, unbelievable to me that we have this going on. This is exactly the kind of weak-minded, weak-kneed, wimpy behavior that we rejected at the ballot box in November. And these companies, they're still prisoners of the DEI woke inertia that they have. Allstate bragging about how diverse they are. Allstate talking about what a priority it is to them. Being dedicated to DEI. Talking about how inclusive diversity and equity is core to their success. And while they still need more progress, they continue to lead. They're one of Diversity Inc.'s top 50 companies for diversity. Look, diversity is a great thing, but it should be the natural byproduct of the most talented people of all diverse backgrounds excelling with their talent and their ability. It shouldn't be something that you're trying to cook up in a laboratory so that you can meet a quota, so that you can say that you have some percentage. Because that is not equality. That is not meritocracy. That is not opportunity. That is not what this country was founded on. You're trying to create a narrative and then just fill in the spaces however you can for your image because you think it's going to be good for your company, and you're going to need to own it, Tom Wilson. Clay Travis tweeted that maybe they were going to get Bud Lighted after this, reference to the Dylan Mulvaney ad that people rejected so swiftly, and Bud Light certainly felt it financially. Well, if you're so inclined, I would like to let you know Allstate is not the only insurance provider in this country. You got other options here. So you decide what you want to do. I'm a Progressive customer. I'm feeling decent about that today. If you don't like Progressive, I'm sure you can go to the Gecko and he'll help you out. State Farm, Liberty Mutual. I always kind of like the Emu. You got options. So if you're an Allstate customer, hey, listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but there's going to be a lot of people that are dropping Allstate, and there's going to be a lot of other people who will never consider Allstate again, all because you had 2 things to do, Tom Wilson. You had 2 things to do. One, express sympathy and condolences for the tragedy that happened in New Orleans. You didn't ask for it. The Sugar Bowl didn't ask for it. Notre Dame and Georgia didn't ask for it. It was a terrible goddamn tragedy. So acknowledge it and give it the respect that it deserves for those people who lost their lives. And then the second thing you have to say is, let's play some football. And we're proud to provide quality insurance to you. That's all you had to do. But you went on there and we went to DEI church, and I wasn't ready for the service, and neither was anybody else. So go fuck yourself. It's what I have to say. And I'll put my name on that And I'll stand by it just like I was putting my name on every fucking thing when I was 8 years old. I'll print one out that says Ricky Cobb and I'll stick it on Tom Wilson's forehead. I didn't care if things belonged to me or not when I was a kid. I was going to put my name on it. And I'll sign my name to Allstate. Can fuck off. Take your new age, I'm okay, you're okay, everybody get along bullshit, and go tell it to the people that really need to hear it. Not the hard-working, tax-paying American citizens who already have American values and they don't need you to tell them what to believe, Tom. Let's talk about the college football now, shall we? We've got 4 teams left, and, you know, a lot of people harping about the college football playoffs, the seeding of it. There's almost certainly going to be changes that are made because we had the 4 highest rated conference champions. They all got byes. And that meant that Boise State got a bye, and it meant that Arizona State got a bye. And Arizona State played well against Texas, but they got beat, and they were double-digit underdogs in that game. Boise State, double-digit underdogs to Penn State, and Penn State covered in that game. Georgia, even by kickoff at the Sugar Bowl, was an underdog by a point to Notre Dame. And guess what? Ohio State, who Oregon is still feeling the sting of what Ohio State did to them, that wasn't an upset either. All right? Dave Portnoy says early observations on the playoffs. All 4 teams with byes lost. Yeah, they did. Clearly were rusty from layoff. As a result, we have the weakest Final Four teams in recent memory, no conference champions, and even a third-place Big Ten team instead. Playoffs will get better, but this year's theme is mediocrity. All right, I tend to agree with a lot of Dave's takes, but I'm going to take issue with that one because the favored team won all 4 games. This was not an issue of rust. This was an issue of the better team in each case happened to be the higher seeded team and a team that had to win their way to be in the semifinals. So that to me is the issue. We didn't have the right 4 teams with byes in this situation. Georgia, well, that's a disappointing performance as an SEC school to lay the egg that they laid yesterday. Ohio State's better than Oregon. They showed it. We saw it. And in the case of Texas and Arizona State, everybody expected Texas to win. Trey Wallace didn't, to his credit, and he was almost right. Everybody expected Penn State to beat Boise State. So there's really no surprises here. It's not a layoff issue at all. Notre Dame. Man, Notre Dame is in danger of making me like them again. Take a look at this. That's what you celebrate at the Sugar Bowl. Allstate, take a look at that and take notes. Because I'm going to tell you something. Going in to the Sugar Bowl, I didn't really have an opinion one way or the other about Allstate. Aren't they the ones that say you're in good hands with them? Are they the good hands people? You're in good hands with Allstate. I didn't really have a strong opinion about Allstate. I'm not a customer. Didn't have anything against them. Notre Dame's one of my least favorite programs in the country. I've rooted against Notre Dame football for pretty much my entire life. But that's changing. And it's changing for a couple of reasons. For one reason, look at that. That's America. That's how we respond in this country to terror attacks. That's how we respond to adversity. That's shades of post 9/11 energy right there. We are the greatest country in the world, and nothing breaks us. Nothing breaks us. God, country, Notre Dame. So I'm starting to get with Notre Dame, and a huge reason for that is their head coach, Marcus Freeman. I love this guy. I love him. And Notre Dame now 2 wins away from potentially being the national champions. I can feel Ronnie T-shirts in the shadows waiting to come on, just shaking his head saying they got no chance whatsoever. But they are 2 games away. And that's pretty fucking impressive. And, you know, the reality here is Brian Kelly was the coach there for what, like a dozen years, something like that. And almost every year Notre Dame was good, but they couldn't quite get over the hump. Couldn't quite get there. They lost in a national championship game once, but for the most part, they didn't even get that far, and they were just always one of those teams that was like 11-2 or 10-3, and not really one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the country. And so Brian Kelly made the decision that a lot of people believe that he felt the easier path to a national championship would be go to the SEC, go to LSU. Notre Dame, it was just too hard in this modern age. And let's remember, Notre Dame, not eligible for one of those buys, by the way, all right? Because they're an independent. So there was no way. They're the only school out of the 12 in this that had exactly 0 chance of getting a buy from day one. But now here we are anyway. Brian Kelly, well, what's he doing at LSU? He's winning irrelevant bowl games. He's winning irrelevant bowl games and dancing like everybody's grandfather who had a couple too many at a wedding reception. Marcus Freeman is the future. Man, has this guy in short order established himself as one of the most brilliant young coaches and a very likable guy as well. Let's take a look, the fourth down play, man. I'm telling you right now. In fact, I'm going to bring in Ronnie T-shirts for this. The international streaming star joins me now from Nashville, Tennessee, because, Ron, I got to go to my resident college football expert on this program. Take me through your reaction to the punt, the shift that Notre Dame made. They ended up getting Georgia to jump in the fourth quarter, basically just putting the final nail in the coffin, I suppose. Give me your thoughts on that.
I mean, I just thought it was funny. Like it was kind of preposterous to watch. Like, what are we actually looking at? And just, we talked about this was it towards the beginning of the season? Feels like Georgia has a discipline problem at their university, right? Because they've had all the problems with the cars, with I think there's a domestic abuse problem in there. So there's definitely a discipline problem at Georgia. And that was just basically exploiting a lack of discipline, right? Like, there's just no way you jump. You just don't move. You know what they're doing. You just don't move. But it was kind of weird to see. Funny, the result. You're talking about becoming like you've never rooted for Notre Dame, actually rooted against Notre Dame. And the same with me. Like, I hate Michigan, and then I hate Notre Dame a tiny bit less. Man, I found myself like I don't have a hatred for the SEC. I just look at the SEC now and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys are so full of yourselves. I do find it interesting that now that that everybody's allowed to pay players, all of a sudden it feels like the SEC doesn't have an advantage. I wonder why, Ricky. I wonder what was going on before everybody could pay players. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I was thinking about, down at Miami basketball program, there's players that are, I guess State. I don't know if they're suing or what. Florida State, rather. Yeah, my bad. Did Leonard Hamilton, he used to coach at Miami? I can't remember.
No, Leonard Hamilton was at Florida State. Hamilton was at Florida State.
Yeah. Well, $250,000 these guys are claiming that he promised them. And I'm just thinking to myself, don't you miss the pure days of college athletics when a coach would promise a guy a lot of money and then not deliver and they couldn't say shit about it because everybody was going to get in trouble if they did? Now it's like all out in the open. I guess sunlight is the best disinfectant, but it might not be the best for the SEC, as you say. But let's go to Riley Leonard post game, giving his coach a little bit of love.
And so that's how I want this group to attack our preparation and attack performance when we have the opportunity.
Real quick, he's being humble. That was completely his play, and we were going to do it a different way, like 2 days ago. And then he flipped it, and we executed it that way, and it worked.
It's our
so
play.
he's being humble
Our
like
play.
all throughout the year. All right, yeah, you know this guy. But I'll say it for him. Great call, great execution.
Listen, right there, you can just see it. I mean, that is a quarterback who has genuine affection for his coach. And, you know, I'm no expert on what Marcus Freeman is doing with that program, et cetera. But, boy, he looks like a guy that his players love, and they want to go out there and bust their ass for him. And look, you're right. That's a discipline problem for Georgia because, you know, you can't make another team jump and give you a fresh set of downs. But at the same time, he did create the environment to at least make that more than a 0% possibility. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool. I think that Chip Kelly, not Chip Kelly, Kirby Smart. I'm bringing up Chip Kelly's like, why are you bringing me into this? I'm doing just fine at Ohio State. I've been talking about Brian Kelly too much, and now I'm dragging Chip Kelly into not Chip. You're doing just fine. Keep
Machine
doing what
Gun
you're
Kelly's
doing, buddy.
next.
Yeah, I'm gonna Jim Kelly. Are there any other Kellys that I can get my thoughts in here
Kelly
about?
Ripa.
But no, yeah, Kelly Ripa. I'm referring to Kirby Smart, which doesn't have a goddamn thing to do with any Kelly. But you know, I think he outcoached Kirby Smart. Georgia laid an egg. I had money on Georgia again. Maybe that's me just wagering on the reputation of the SEC, but Notre Dame, at least for the time being, I'm going to press the pause button on my dislike for Notre Dame because Marcus Freeman seems like one of the more, you were talking about how Kenny Dillingham just seems like a really likable guy. And I agree with that. Marcus Freeman is in the same category for me. You got a couple of really young, exciting, likable coaches there.
Do we know where Marcus Freeman went to college? Like, he seems like a good guy. Like, he's probably raised well, taught well. Like, do we have any idea where he went to college? Like, where he learned this from?
You're gonna determine if he's a good kid or not by where he went to college.
No,
I went
know
to
where
Western Kentucky, Ron. What kind of person does that make me? You
Ricky.
motherfucker! I know what you're doing, you prick. I know what you're doing. You're already in the catbird seat to win the national championship. Is it really necessary for you to pump up Ohio State even more? Nobody wants to hear that shit, man. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark, something that we hardly ever discuss on this program.
Thank goodness.
She and Ohio State may be 1-2 in the things that we talk about the most on this show. But Caitlin Clark was on the Kelsey Brothers podcast, New Heights, they call it, Ron. And she was talking about the portal issues. Everybody's talking about the transfer portal and how that fucker is going to have to be tightened up. Here's a quote from Caitlin Clark when she was on with the Kelseys. We got people on like their fourth school in their 7th year. It's getting egregious. And that feels also, oddly enough, Ron, that feels like something that Cheryl Swoops said about Caitlin when she was at Iowa. She's in her 7th year. Her point record shouldn't count. No, but in all seriousness, it really is just this simple. Isn't it, Ron? You got to do something to at least put some sort of reins on this because it is the Wild West.
It is. I say it's the Wild West all the time. I got a case for you. I hope I get this right and in the right order. If I don't, forgive me, everybody, but I'm making a point. JT Daniels, he was a quarterback. He started at USC. He transferred to Georgia. He transferred to West Virginia. He transferred to Rice. He played for 4 schools in 4 years, Ricky, as a quarterback. Like, that's crazy. Like, that is just, it's insane.
Well,
but yeah,
I saw somebody on TikTok or somewhere doing a bit where they were saying, like, you know, the NFL in 5 years. And, you know, it's just like Ricky Cobb, Western Kentucky University, Texas Tech, Rice, Alabama. You know, I mean, it's going to take an hour just to get through the introductions of the starting lineups.
Pretty funny.
So, but it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it's one thing. Yes, the players should have gotten paid before now. It took too long for the players to get paid. With the amount of money that's in college athletics, they got away for a long time with this bullshit student athlete value of an education, while these head coaches are making $10 million a year, and the shoe endorsements that college basketball coaches had, etc. And we're being told that your 4-year liberal arts degree is somehow compensating you appropriately as these institutions rake in unbelievable amounts of money. So it is right that the players get paid. I don't think that the players should be so free that they can basically be on a series of 1-year contracts where they're free agents every year and they just go around like hired guns. They're hired guns now, man. It's like, you need a quarterback? Well, go into the portal with a lot of money and see who's willing to come to your program, and you can rent them for a year. And it's a joke. It's a joke. These players should be able to change, but they got to put some limitation on this.
Yep.
A certain, X number of transfers that you're allowed during your college career or something. Nobody should need to transfer more than twice, Ron. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the legalities are. I am totally just the dude with a beer, just saying this is how I feel about it right now. But they got to do something to tighten this up, because it's not good for the game. It's not great for, maybe it's great for these players in the short term, but I don't think it's great for the health of college football if it's just a game of musical chairs with these players year after year after year. And it'll get worse too. It's not going to get better. There's going to be more people going into that portal as time goes on, because why should I stay and grind away at the same school for 4 years when there are other schools out there that are going to be willing to pay more for my services?
Here's the old guy with life experience take on this. I know this doesn't apply to everybody, because there are some cases where, it's like you got to get the money while you can, and I do understand that. But it always it feels like college is different.
I don't blame the players.
No,
I don't blame the players, Ron.
But the advice that I want to give to these college players are, and again, it's easy for me to sit here and say this when they're trying to chase this dream and they're trying to chase money, but my experience tells me that it's not just about getting money, getting playing time. It's about being a part of something. And if you just transfer from school to school to school, you're never going to be a part of something. Like, I didn't play sports at Ohio State, but Ohio State, as we all know, anybody that watches this show,
don't tell that to Mike Tomczak.
But DM him, please. It's a part of my life, man. Like, it's a place for me to always go back. And, I do have friends that were athletes at Ohio State, and it's part of them forever. It's a fraternity. It's a brotherhood. It's when things are bad, they've got people they can rely on. But if you're a dude that goes to Oklahoma State and you're there for 3 months, and then you're gone, and now you're at West Virginia and you're there for 6 months, and then you go to Tulane, it's like, what's home for you? And you can go, right. Who cares? But I know what it's like, and I know people that experience it on a bigger level than me. It's really important to be part of something, and chasing that little bit of extra playing time or that little bit of extra money, man, in the long life that you're going to have, it's not worth it. And nobody's going to listen to me. They're going to chase the money and chase the playing time.
Ron, how would you feel about a transfer portal for politicians? I've got a politician that I want to put in the portal. That's where I was going with that. Let's put Nancy Pelosi in the portal, and let's transfer her to Siberia or somewhere.
No, like a wormhole.
Let her go to another country.
A black hole to just some other universe.
Yeah, maybe we can send her to the International Space Station or something, and she can go up there for a few months, because she wants to bring to the country, Ron. You know what she thinks? Donald Trump into the White House. The Republicans now in control of both houses. The momentum shift in this country is palpable. But Nancy Pelosi wants to bring, well, let's listen to Nancy Pelosi and then get your reaction, Ron.
Hi, it's Nancy. I'm on my way to Washington to proudly represent the people of San Francisco in Congress. I'm honored to do so, to share our San Francisco values. Thank you for giving me that honor.
All right, she's 84 years old?
Something like that.
She just had hip surgery after a fall. The only place that she needs to be on the way to is the old folks' home. Okay? In what other profession in the world, other than politics, if you want to know how good politicians have it, if you want to know how good they really have it in this country, ask yourself how many other jobs there are anywhere in the world that people voluntarily work into their fucking 80s. Okay? If you're an 80-year-old carpenter, you're fucking building birdhouses in your garage or something while you're playing with your fucking grandkids or maybe your great-grandkids. If you're an 80-year-old doctor, you're telling people about the shit you did 20 years ago when you retired. If you're an 80-year-old teacher, you probably got your gold watch at least 20 years ago. Etc., etc., etc. Not even the fucking Walmart greeters in their little blue vests are 80 years old typically, but you can be over 80 and be the president. We've got one right now and we'll have another one by the time that Donald Trump's term is over. And you got, how old's Mitch McConnell? He's got to be pushing 80 if he's not there
120.
yet. Strom Thurmond was in there for forever. Nancy Pelosi, I'm going to go back to Washington. 84 fucking years old after injuring your hip in a fall, you're going to go to Washington. And that's not even the biggest problem, although that's a big problem. The biggest problem is she wants to bring San Francisco values to all of us, Ron. Isn't that what, talk about being tone deaf. I was talking about the CEO of Allstate and read the room, buddy. San Francisco value. Oh my God, Ron. Listen, I just need to stop talking for 30 seconds before I blow a synapse here. You take this. Tell me how in the world this woman thinks the message that she should be giving this country is that she's going to bring San Francisco values to the rest of this country when San Francisco, over the course of the last 5 or 10 years, they've done everything that they can to fucking jack up and ruin one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful city in America.
Well, don't hate the player, hate the game. She's only in Washington because the morons that live in her district keep voting for her. The rules need to be changed, Ricky, because the people clearly aren't intelligent enough to see what they're doing, or they just don't care, or I guess maybe that's what the values of San Francisco are. But she's just there because she's allowed to be. But the reason all these people want to keep staying in politics, and she's the absolute prime example. What do these people make per year? Somewhere in the high hundreds. They're trying to get them in the 200s now. 150.
Well, dude, this is like the WNBA. That's their technical salary.
Well, but where they're making their money from.
They're making
right? They're making their money because they get insider stock information, and these people.
Well, that's part of it.
Ricky, she's worth $400 million or something like that, and she's only making $170,000 a year. Connect the dots, dude. That's why it's a career that allows you to figure out how to make enormous amounts of money in the stock market. And it is not just her, it is across the freaking board, dude. And that is why all these people, they aspire to do this. And it's the system is broken, man. The system is absolutely broken.
Well, and people are always against, people are like, oh, Congress sucks. Congress always polls terribly. The national favor of Congress is terribly, terribly low. I mean, I've seen it as low as 11% or something like that. But at the same time, what they tend to do is they say Congress sucks, but my person's okay.
Right. Except
And
my
so,
guy.
and that happens all around the country. Everybody thinks the other guy's person sucks, and then they've sent their person back, the only person that they have any say-so in, right?
Yep.
And so we see very little change often, even though people are upset about it. But Nancy Pelosi, take your San Francisco values and screw off with that. Is this the new Trump hat, Ron? Have we graduated? That's not a Photoshop. I need to get the AI Pittsburgh Steelers question. 100% realistic. This is his new hat, Ron. What do you
Trump
think?
loves him some Trump. Trump loves him some Trump.
Man, listen, nobody is a bigger fan of themselves than Donald Trump.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.